Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today we're going to talk in detail and we're going to go in depth of the install of an Emby Media Server on a Windows 2019 server. I'm going to make this video as soup to nuts as I can so that you get a good idea of what to expect when doing an installation and configuration of Emby. So come on, get your favorite adult beverage or coffee or tea or whatever it is that strikes your fancy, and let's get the video started right now. Alright, so we're over here on Prometheus, which is my media server. It's also my surveillance server, so you're going to see we've got about 20% processor usage with the surveillance system and about 5 gig of RAM in use, and you can see I've got data coming in and going out to my cameras. You can also see I've got the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 950 drivers installed. So this is the media server that we just did a video on. And I realized that I had never gone over, we'd covered Plex a lot, but I'd never covered Emby. So what I'm going to do today in this video, and it could be a long one, is we're going to do a soup to nuts install and configuration of Emby. I'm going to show you how I install and configure it. And then we'll spend a little time talking about what I do like about Emby and what I don't. Because, you know, with any application that you use, you're going to have things you like about it and things you don't. So, but I wanted to show you the activity, and you can see the blue iris is running here. So we're going to do all this with blue iris running. So the first thing we need to do is go to Emby's website and download the Emby server for Windows. And just save it to a place where you can find it. By default, I think it saves it to my downloads folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on open on that folder, and there it is. So not real hard to set up Emby. Just double click on this setup file, and basically we're going to follow the prompts. It'll go out to the and I'm going to give it permission to run, and it's going to go download the software that it needs, and we're just going to install it. Now I am running Windows Server 2019. It's pretty much the same for Windows 10. Windows Server 2019 and Windows 10 are the same code base anyway. And I'm going to try to do this, like I said, as soup to nuts as I can, but I'm just going to basically let the camera roll, and then we'll fix up the stuff in post-processing and editing. Because I want you to see, exactly what's involved and the time involved in setting up Emby. I'd say it takes about the same amount of time to set up Emby as it does Plex, with one exception. And we'll cover that as the video progresses. Now it appears as if nothing's going on, but the setup is still running. And as you can see, Emby is now popped up down here. And I should get a notification that it wants to open a web browser window so I can finish configuring Emby. Now, I'm also going to recommend that you get an Emby Premier subscription, because my install, I have both Plex and Emby Premier. It wants to install C++ 2015, so we'll install that as well. And then Emby should restart. Alright, so we need to select our language. And we're going to do, where is English? United States. Click on next. So let me create the Adama account. My super secret password. And then we'll come back and create the family account after we get Emby up and running. I'm not going to add any media libraries at this time. I just want to get Emby up on its feet. Now, I disable these two options because I don't use or allow remote connections to my Emby server, and I don't want universal plug and play running on there either. That could be a security risk. Click on next. Read the privacy and terms of use. Emby says they do not collect any data on you, so that's good. It's another good reason to use Emby. And then click on finish, and we should be done. then I should be able to log in to the Emby web interface. And we should be good. Yes. So if I come over here to the Manage Emby Server, you can see I've got some updates to do. And no. Now, I've got it up and running, but as you can see, I've got kind of the dashboard doesn't look right. I can refresh this and see if it makes any difference. No, it still doesn't. What I'm going to do now is switch over to a web browser on my PC. So I'll need to know that port number 8096 when I go to connect to Emby. So let's switch over to that. All right, so I'm over on my browser now, and you can see we've gone to 5.10.8096. Now, it tells me there are some updates. So it says, please restart the server to finish applying updates. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to do restart Emby server. All right, so supposedly we're up to date. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is come over here to Emby Premiere. And like I said, if you don't have Emby Premiere, get it. You will thank yourself. I believe you can pay monthly. You can buy it for the year, 6 months. You go out to the Emby website. I think it's $5 a month I'm paying for it, something like that. Well worth the money. I'm going to go ahead and slip my key in, and then we'll come back. So I've put my Emby key in there, and everything is ready and up to date. Now, Prometheus is what I've chosen to name my server, but if you would rather have it have a different name, you can just click there and change the friendly server name just like you can under Plex. I'm going to leave mine set at Prometheus. Now the next thing I'm going to do is come over here under users, and I'm going to add a user called family. And this will be the account that everybody uses to get into the to Emby. I'm not going to allow that user to manage the server, but I am going to enable access to all libraries moving forward. And so now we've added a user, and again, I'm not going to add a password to that. We're just going to leave it blank. So as I was saying, now we have the user set up for family. And for some weird reason, OBS crashed on me. Don't know why. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is come down here to live, actually to transcoding. And what I'm going to do is, seeing as I have that GTX 950 card, I want to make sure that Emby is going to see it. Now, normally you would leave this set to yes for hardware acceleration, but I'm going to change mine to advanced. And if we come down here for each decoder, you will see that it is going to default to using the GTX 950 for everything. In fact, that's even what our preferred hardware encoders, including for H.265, are set to. Now, typically, I don't change any of the settings on here, but I changed it to advanced just so I can make sure that it was seeing that GTX 950 video card, and it is. So I'm going to set that back to yes. And then I'm going to come back here to the dashboard. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how to add a couple of different types, or three or four different types of libraries. One will be a movies library, the other one will be music, the other one will be photos, and then the other one will be TV shows. And then you should be able to take it from there. So let's get started. Now, also I have a drive letter mapped. As I was saying, I have a drive letter mapped for media to the drive letter M on this 5.10 server. And I've redirected it to itself, so you can see media on Prometheus will show you the three shares there: music, photos, and videos. So let's come back to Emby, and this time we're going to go to the library. And what we're going to do is just simply add a media library. For our choices, we're going to set it to movies. And the first folder I'm going to add is Action Adventure. And we're going to click on folders, and let's see if we see the M drive. No, we don't see the M drive on there. So I'm going to need to shut down and restart Emby on the server. And let's get rid of this for now. So let's come back here to Emby, and we'll come back to the server. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exit Emby, give it a minute. Make sure it's not running here in the background. And then we'll run Emby again. And we'll come back to our browser, and we'll go back into Emby if it lets us. Now let's see if we can add that library. And now we can see our drive letter M. So if you have that problem with Emby not seeing your drive shares, just go back and restart Emby. So we're going to go into the videos and action adventure folder and click OK. And that is typically all I do to add a movie folder. So we'll click on OK. And now it's going to start scanning in the background so we can go ahead and add our other folders as well. So the next one I'm going to do is add music. So I'm just going to tell it this is music, and I'm going to leave the display name at music. Go to my end drive, go to music, click OK and OK. So again, adding folders, adding shared libraries is not a big deal. Let's do the same thing for family photos. We'll just leave that name, and we'll come here to photos and click OK. Now keep in mind, this scanning of the libraries is going to take quite a bit of time, but you can go ahead and add all your libraries at one time. There's no need to add the library and wait for it to update. So let's go ahead now and add our TV shows in here. So I'm going to add media library. This time I'm going to do TV shows, and I'm going to leave it named at that. Click on our folders, go to M, go to our videos folder, and go to TV shows. And click OK. Alright, so that's how hard it is to add media. Now if we come back here to the dashboard, we can see it is scanning the media library. So while we're waiting for Emby to scan the media library, I want to come up here to the little icon that says settings and go to display. Now as you can see, I've got the dark theme set, but I've got a light theme set for my server dashboard. I'm going to set that to dark with a red accent, and we're going to see how that looks. So hopefully, I don't see a save button here, so hopefully now if we go to manage Emby server, yeah, it'll be dark with a red theme. Now I don't see the red, do you? Do you see the red accents anywhere? Just make sure that we've set it that way, dark red accent, yeah. Alright, and yeah, I don't see a red accent anywhere, do you? But that's okay. This is acceptable. Just I cannot deal with that bright. You know, these LED monitors are so bright now. Even though I got the brightness turned down, I cannot stand that glaring white background on these things. So let's see if another one. Let's see, I did a dark with a red accent. How about I do one for holidays? Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I don't see that it changed it that much, if at all. Oh, there we go. Now I see the backdrop has changed. So I need to refresh. So let's set that back to dark. Red accent. Oh, I'm sorry. I changed the wrong one. Change that to dark red accent. And go back to manage and then refresh. And there's our red accent. Okay, cool. I like that. You may not, but experiment with those other settings and you may find one you like. Now, I do want to prepare you for one thing as we're waiting for the media library to scan. Emby is nowhere near as good at matching your movies and your music and, you know, media for that matter than Plex is. Plex is much, much better at matching. So, in a nutshell, Plex is much better at getting your media named correctly, labeled correctly, the correct thumbnails and artwork and whatnot. So it's going to be a little more difficult under Emby. Now, the key to this, though, is making sure you have your media named properly. And there are articles and Wikipedia articles on both the Plex's website and on Emby's on how to properly name your media. That has a lot to do with it. If you have media that's improperly named, or if you got some special characters in there, it may not match it correctly. And unlike Plex, which is very easy to go and fix a match, Emby, not so much. In fact, hopefully the folks at Emby are going to see this video and maybe they'll see some of the problems I'm having and maybe they'll get it fixed. And I'm assuming it's me. Well, I'm assuming it's Emby because I've tried it on every different browser I can. And you'll see when we go in to match some of the media here shortly. So as you can see, the load on the server is just fine. If we come under here under our processes, we'll see that Emby server is now out there running. I've also got Drive Bender on this machine. It's doing a whole bunch of stuff. This is that Ryzen 5 1600, very capable machine. And of course, Blue Iris is just sitting out there chugging along like it's supposed to be. And this is what you want a server to do. You know, when you have a server with this kind of power in it, you want to see it get used. So it's, you know, 50% is on CPU usage is my comfort, is my pain level. Anything that goes over 50, then I start to worry. But, you know, people get concerned when they see a lot of RAM in use. I don't. It means I've properly sized the machine. I've got a lot of RAM in there. It can do a lot of things. So as long as you got good CPU and RAM in a server, and we have a GPU in here for both Plex and Emby, we hopefully have a winning combination here. Now, one of the things that confuses new users sometimes is you think you would come down here to library and then you would go in here and edit to change your, you know, your art and the name of the movie, etc. But that's not where you do it. You actually have to go to the dashboard and you have to click on this link here to go to the actual front page of the Emby server, and then you click on your genre, or however you have your movies organized, and this is where you'll do the actual fixing. As you can see, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, about 10 mismatches, 13 mismatches on our Emby server, whereas Plex would have probably done 98% of these without an error. So, and this is going to bring me to one of my pet peeves about Emby. Under Plex, this is trivial. Under Emby, whenever I set Emby up and I haven't saved the database, all right, it's going to be one of those days. OBS crashed on me again. So I've done a reboot of my machine and I'm trying again. So what I was talking about was how to edit the movie titles and so forth in Emby. So you have to click on this link here and then go into your genre that you're going to edit. And like I said, Plex does a much better job of getting these titles correct than Emby does. And it's a whole lot easier to fix a match under Plex than it is under Emby. I'm about to show you why. So if we come here to Doctor Strange, this is not the one from 1978. So if you click on the little triple dot menu here, you can go to Identify. And in here, normally what you would do is just start typing the name of the movie. And let me show you what happens. So I type in DR. As soon as I hit the space bar, it jumps off of that screen. You notice how the mouse just kind of jumped? This has been since the last 2 versions of Emby, so I don't know if they're even aware of it. And sometimes the screen in the back will change back here. So I'm going to click on Doctor Strange and then click on Search. And then this is the match that we want here. So I select it, tell it to replace, tell it OK. And then it will go out and it will match Doctor Strange properly. I'm going to do that with a couple of more. So let's go to click on the triple dot menu, go to Identify. Now what you can do to save some time is just copy and paste that here. And a lot of that will avoid that problem of the refresh in the background. And as you can see, it didn't work. So let's try it again. Let's copy. Let's just do Guardians of the Galaxy. Paste that and do a search. And there's volume 2. You have to be very exact with your spelling of the titles, otherwise it doesn't match them. So again, another plus for Plex. It does a much better job of this than Emby does. So you're just going to have to go through all these videos that don't match, and you're going to have to fix them through that method that I show you. For example, let's go to Pirates Dead Man's Chest. I'll go to Identify. And I'm going to just copy and paste it. And it's not going to find anything because I didn't complete the entry. I didn't copy it all. So sometimes you can get by with just copying part of the title, and then we'll get some matches. So now I need to find Dead Man's Chest. Let's see, is this Dead Man's Chest? Yes. Make sure you replace existing images and click on OK. So if I have a major complaint about Emby, that's it, is getting the matching correct and the process you have to go through to do it. Again, you know, after you repeat it over and over again, it's not such a big deal, but just be prepared that it's not as clear-cut as it is under Plex to add and remove titles. Now, I've come back and I've added all my other folders for video and music and music videos and that kind of thing. So it's going to run the scan in the background, but I thought what I do in the meantime is cover live TV. So the first thing I want to do, though, is come here to transcoding, to DVR, sorry. So I want to come to DVR, and I want to set the default recording path, and I'm gonna set that up on my M drive videos, and I have a folder out here called Recorded TV. I just like it to have its own little folder there, so we're going to go ahead and save on that. And then what it'll do is it'll add that to it'll add the live TV or recorded TV eventually under recordings. So that's a good thing, I guess, right? So let's come back to live TV. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to set up your sources. Now I have the Silicon Dust HD, I forget what they're called. Let's click on plus and detect my devices. And it should go out and detect. I have two of these over-the-air tuners, and they're HD home runs. I have one at 45 and one at 57. So I'm going to set up that one first. I'm going to allow hardware transcoding, and I'm going to click on save. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the second one. I have OCD, that's why I picked 45 first, because it has to be a numerical sequence. Click on save. And now you have your two tuners set up. And keep in mind that requires an Emby Premiere subscription. The next thing I want to do is get my TV guide data providers. So I'm going to click on plus to add. I'm going to come down to the United States. Guide source, I want to be Emby guide data. Click on next. I need to enter my zip code so it knows where to get the lineup from. And then we're going to tell it over the air. So we'll do local over the air broadcast, enable this for all tuner devices, and click on save. So now, in addition to it checking out all the movies and scanning them and getting the folder art, it's also now getting guide data. So if we come back to the dashboard, we'll see we got two tasks running here now. And I'm not going to bother to show you the server at this time because it's handling the load just fine. So we'll let this thing get all set up. That's how you set up your live TV and your DVR. And we'll go out and look at the guide data and the movies once we get all that set up. We interrupt this video for a special announcement. Yeah. Say what you will about Seagate's drives, that is. I have a ton of them here. I have probably over 20 Seagate drives here. Not one of them has failed. Some of them are as old as 10 years old. However, this failed right in the middle of making a video. This is a 3 terabyte Western Digital Red that was donated to me by a subscriber. Now, when he sent me this drive, it had quite a few thousands, tens of thousands of hours on it. So it's okay. It's had a long life. But this drive is only, let's see what year it was made. This drive was made in 2016. So the drive is what, now 4 years old? It was made in April. So it's just a few months shy of being 4 years old. Say what you will about Seagates, but I don't have any failed Seagate drives in my pile yet. Now, I don't want to jinx myself. This happened right in the middle of making the video on Emby. That's why I've interrupted the Emby video to show you this. And that means that I've been kind of rethinking my storage for my media server. As you know, I've made that Windows server and I've put Drive Bender on there. But I got to thinking about it, and wouldn't my life be a little bit easier if I had a file system that was actually, not that that Drive Bender is not reliable, but it's a little kludgy the way it works. So would it be better if I just had a server that had perhaps a Synology hybrid RAID built into it? So you see what's behind me on the bench again? I'm not going to tell you what I did in this video, but suffice it to say, I'll come back and finish the Emby setup video once I got my ducks back in a row. But I just wanted to share that with you. That was interesting. I had a Western Digital, and everybody predicted on the poll that it was going to be Seagate. How wrong we are. Hey, it's not that Seagate drives are any better. Seagate has had their share of problems, but I just find it's interesting that it becomes almost a personal thing. Seems some people don't have any trouble with Western Digital drives, and then some people, i.e. me, have nothing but trouble with Western Digital drives, and I'm still will not buy a Western Digital drive for that very reason. So I think what we'll do is get another 4 terabyte Terascale drive in here. Those are readily available for about $60, and they're actually enterprise level drives, and we'll put one of those in this server behind us. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative, if not complete. And we will complete it. We'll cover some more advanced topics on Emby, and I'll again go over some of the pros and cons of using it as compared to Plex. And then you can decide for yourself what you want to run on your home theater or home media machine. I'm going to run both. I'm running Plex and Emby. But like I said, I just wanted to get an idea of what was in store for you with Emby and some of the pitfalls you might encounter. So anyway, please don't forget to come back and see us again. Donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal. We take Patreon. It's been great sharing this time with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on the other side.